44 public school names are now on the chopping block.
And this is under...
Late Tuesday, the San Francisco School Board voted to change the names of schools that were named after historical figures that critics contend engaged in some way with the enslavement or oppression of others.
You're going to love this one. The San Francisco Board of Education voting to strip a third of its public schools of their names. Schools named after leaders like Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, even Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, all will be changed. This move comes after cancel culture, of course, is calling for historical figures to be removed from history after being tied in any way to slavery, racism, and oppression. The Feinstein story, though, is priceless. We're going to explain that one here in just a minute. But first, joining us to talk about all this is John Dennis, the chairman of the San Francisco GOP. John, thanks so much. Good to see you. I mean, I've heard a lot of stupid stories in this business, but this one might be the dumbest one I've ever heard.
Well, welcome to San Francisco. We are the home of stupid stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, what on earth are these people thinking? How do they get? I mean, is anybody? Here's my question: how many people do you actually think are offended by a school named after Abraham Lincoln? And why are we pandering to 8 people on Twitter?
Well, there's that, and there's also you have a bunch of these parents who kind of are going with it, but don't forget these are parents who've been indoctrinated in public schools themselves. Yeah. And one of the interesting things that you're not hearing is who are they going to rename these schools after? Which perfect person, perfect heroic person from the left is actually going to get the honor of being having a school named after them in San Francisco?
Yeah. It's funny. I heard Dave Rubin today. He's a frequent guy on our shows here on NewsMax. He said, Barack Obama ran for president in his first term against gay marriage. So if you put Barack Obama's name on anything, you're probably going to have to rip it down here before too long.
Well, Rob, here's the other part, too. This is part of a national trend. It's like a twofer for the left. So one of the things they're trying to do is they're trying to do this sort of Chinese cultural revolution, change of history, so that they get to rewrite it. It's a really, ominous trend. And on top of it, here's the other part. The San Francisco Democrats, they've been running this town for 60 years and they've been failing. We have a situation now where only 12% of black students are proficient in math, a 58% gap with the rest of the student body. That's an unbelievable failure, a systemic failure, some people might say. And this is all a massive distraction, something that the Democrats do on Capitol Hill as well, mind you, to take away from their own failures, the failures of their policy that just simply cannot work.
That, sir, is a fantastic point. That is very, very true. Look over here, pay attention to this stupid stuff as your whole community just melts down. Dianne Feinstein, former senator from the state, Kamala Harris's seat, people calling for her to be canceled after she ordered a Confederate flag to be replaced at some point in the past after its removal. She wanted a Confederate flag replaced. Months later, apparently she hugged Lindsey Graham as well, and that sparked even more outrage. The left just eating their own. Feinstein, I mean, I can't imagine.
Well, she's too moderate for them. They've had their eye on her for some time. They want another Kamala Harris type to go in and replace her. But it's interesting, Dianne Feinstein has pulled papers. I think Dianne Feinstein is maybe 87 now, 86, and she's pulled papers to run again in I think in 2022.
Oh, okay,
so
wait.
They want the woke left wants that spot.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Barbara Boxer, not Dianne Feinstein. Yeah, there you go. Okay, she's still in there. Yeah, you're right. There has been
one other point I want to make real quickly about this. This whole woke culture in San Francisco has been an abject failure, not just for students, but we also elected a district attorney who is the son of the former Weather Underground people. People are in jail, and he had this position when he was running that he was not going to arrest people for quality of life crimes. We have had a 70% increase in fentanyl overdoses in San Francisco in 1 year over the other since this guy was elected to office.
It's just unbelievable. What a story. There has been, thankfully, there's a few people with some common sense in California. There has been backlash on this decision. The advocacy group Families for San Francisco put out a statement saying, quote, "The committee did not engage the larger San Francisco community in a sustained discussion. The committee was not guided or informed by professional historians or others with historical expertise," end quote. Do these people have a prayer on this thing? Does this go through?
I have to say, it's San Francisco. You don't know, but I will say that there's going to be an enormous backlash. There are a lot of people who are upset. We're going to target the people who voted for this, the people on the board, and we're going to chase them down. And this is, by the way, there's a national angle to this as well, because San Francisco schools, like all school systems, get federal funds. A substantial portion of their budget comes from the federal government. So if this outrages you and you don't live in San Francisco, let your congressman know, let your congresswoman know, let your senators know. This is not what we want. We want to stop this in its tracks.
Yeah.
The people who founded this country were heroic people who did amazing things. All of them are flawed, but we're not going to have Che Guevara High School in San Francisco. We're not going for it.
I was just going to say the same thing. I was like, get ready for Che Guevara High School. It's coming. That's funny. We think alike. Ben LaBolt, this is a name you might remember, former assistant press secretary to Barack Obama, put out this tweet saying, quote, instead of focusing on the COVID crisis and ensuring kids are getting educated during the pandemic, the San Francisco School Board spent yesterday voting nearly unanimously to remove the names Lincoln, Roosevelt, and Feinstein from city schools, end quote. I mean, when you've got people that worked for Obama saying this is stupid, I mean, there it is.
Can you imagine? Obama's to the right of these people.
Right. Well to the right of these people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, there are sensible people in San Francisco. We have a board of supervisors, sort of like a city council. There are 11 supervisors. 10 of them are progressives. And I got to say, they do not reflect the voting base in San Francisco. 10 out of 11 San Franciscans are not as progressive as these people, but they've been very good at taking advantage of a voting system that we have that we're targeting as well, called ranked choice voting. And remember that, because a lot of trends start in San Francisco, and Andrew Yang has already started touting that we need national ranked choice voting. We got to fight this tooth and nail, just like we're fighting it in San Francisco. That's how they get away with a lot of this stuff.
I need to look up and read up more on that. That's interesting. Okay. John, thank you so much for your time. Good to talk with you. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine.